Hey, good morning, vinyl community, music community, all of those music lovers. It's contest time, yes. Yet again for this one for Christian over at CGC Vinyl. He's a fairly new one to me. He's actually fairly new to the VC. He's only got less than 60 subscribers, so definitely go over and check him out. He's having a contest to show some soundtracks. Now, he wanted to show some of our favorite soundtracks. He showed quite a few. I am one of those people in the VC, in the music community, that am not huge on soundtracks. So, I've only got a handful, but I'm going to go ahead and show, I think, pretty much all that I've got. With a little, just brief look at some of these. There are some other ones I'd like to get, but I'm not a big collector of those at this time. Going to the very first one, though, this is probably one of the super favorite soundtracks that I have in my collection. Now, this is actually, I have the movie. I should have pulled that up. I have the movie on Blu-ray with the extended features. I have the CD I've had for years, and then I didn't pick up the vinyl. Actually, the vinyl was given to me, VCLT, from Beth over at Miss 80s Movies and Music. So, again, I mentioned it, and, she said there was one in her store, and she picked it up. I've never seen it in a while. I'm sure it's out there, but I don't always peruse through the soundtracks. But anyway, let me give you the scene. 1974 movie. That would have put me at roughly the age of about 8. So, and it was in the theater for a while. So between the ages of 8 and 9, I probably saw this movie half a dozen times. I was getting everybody to take me, and it's definitely not a movie that an 8-year-old kid should go to. But hey, it was the 70s. Way to go. My brother would take me, and then I think actually my parents took me, or my dad took me at one point. Wait, Phantom of the Paradise. Paul Williams. Some other people that went on to be notable, and this has become a cult classic. There's been reunion shows, there's been action figures. I'd love to get one of those dolls of the Phantom that are outrageously expensive. They've had meetings and stuff over the decades. Soundtrack is all musical. It's a musical. It's got all kinds of ranges of styles on here, from the the 50s greaser type stuff all the way up into some little harder edge stuff. But for the most part, the story just, I don't know, kind of a part horror story, part love story. And for some reason, that and the music as a kid, before I was even into music, it really just appealed to me. And I absolutely, still to this day, love every note on this album. Quirky as it can be at times, I love, love, love it. So yeah, when I saw that they released a Blu-ray with extra bonus stuff and interviews and stuff, I had to get that. It was just great. Yes, absolutely one of my favorites. I am so thankful that Beth was able to acquire one of those at her local store. Now, one of the other soundtracks for a movie that I don't think I ever saw back in the day. Loved the music, and it is only later in years, probably not even too terribly long ago, but it was later in my grown-up years that I saw this movie, and I thought, it's not a very good movie. Saturday Night Fever. In the 70s, this was it. This was, disco was king. We were listening to this. I had this album back in the 70s and loved it. Loved the Bee Gees. Loved that whole disco era. Andy Gibb, I've talked about this before. But I love this soundtrack without really even knowing anything about the movie back in the day when it came out. I probably saw it, had no clue what it was about. And then later when I saw it, I thought, okay, yeah, it's a little darker and different than I thought. Doesn't really match the upbeat soundtrack that I was, picturing in my mind. But still love it, still love it. Another one along the same line that I don't have that I really do want is the Grease soundtrack. That's when I had all the 45 singles from back as a kid. Another one that I wore out, but I've never had the actual, full 12-inch vinyl collection. The other day I saw one in the thrift store, and I got all excited. I grabbed it and had only one disc, and it was in bad shape, so it was kind of beat up, and it was only half the set. Anyway, that's one that I really want that goes into that timeline, into that time frame of the music that I liked. Moving into the 80s, fell in love with the Blues Brothers, loved the movie, later came to really appreciate the music, and of course I picked this up recently when Walmart did their special reissue of that. I thought, finally, I've had this on my list for a long time to get it on. They've had different versions of it, and of course I want to get the Blues Brothers 2000. It's kind of updated, but this is a classic, so I definitely, when I saw that, I've got to get that. More VCLT. This was in a batch of what was it? Box of, what do you call it? A box of mess, hot mess. Steve at Value Vinyl acquired that huge collection, and he sent a bunch of us boxes of just extra stuff. And this was one of the in the set that he sent me of all those records. This is probably one of the top 2 most exciting records that I found in that box. I absolutely love this movie. I guess because it's, rock and roll arranged around the rock and roll story. And you got it was just a great movie. Can't say the second one was as great, but it was still good. But it's just it's got, on the dark side, it's John Cafferty and the Beaver Brown Band. It's got a great stuff, and I love the story. So yeah, and the album was in decent condition. And so when he sent me this, I was just so thrilled that this was in there. So that is one of my favorite movies. This is one I recently got for Christmas. This is the soundtrack to the Bohemian Rhapsody. Technically sort of kind of like a Queen album because it's just Queen songs, but it's of course the soundtrack, the songs that came from the movie, and it has the some of the live stuff that's bonus stuff on here. So it was a cool movie. I don't know a whole lot about that history and how factual a lot of it is, and it had some dark moments, some weird moments, but great music. About this again because it's just soundtracks to me. Okay, so there's 2 different types of soundtracks. Of course, you've got the score of the music, which tends to be, mostly instrumental, tends to be classical back in the days. And then you've got soundtracks that have songs. And so sometimes picking up a soundtrack is a good way to get like a greatest hits or best of an era, or just songs that are pop, big hits, which is the case here. So Guardians of the Galaxy, and this is the deluxe edition, so you get both. You get the songs that were in the movie that are from the the 70s pop and rock songs, and then you've got the score. So it's just hooked on a feel. It's got all the good songs, Spirit in the Sky, Fooled Around and Fell in Love, just a lot of the pop type classics from the days growing up when I was a kid too. So, and then you got the score in here too. Now I do want to get Guardians of the Galaxy 2. And not to get a deluxe edition of that, but this is one I just happened to grab at Walmart before they disappeared. Same thing here. Fan of the show, and there's a sticker in the way. You'll see it though. Stranger Things, again, this is mostly featured around the 80s, so you've got a lot of 80s pop songs. There were a lot of songs in here that I'm not familiar with at all from the 80s, and that was kind of interesting. And it's got a little bit of dialogue. And there is, this is a 2-record set that's all songs, but there is a version of some of these out there that do have an album of the score too. This one is just the original music that was in there, which is a lot of 80s stuff. This one I picked up at the thrift store. Can't say I've ever seen the movie from the 70s. I might have seen clips of it. Bought it mainly because it had Ian Gillan on it, and that's Jesus Christ Superstar. Pop version of the gospel. I bought it for Ian Gillan and some other people in there. And then these last 2 are scores from movies that I've never seen that I have received as stiffeners. I showed it in my stiffeners video. The shoes of the shoes of the fisherman. And I have listened to these, and they're just, cool scores. I don't know much about the movie. Can't find it online to stream. And then themes from Exodus and other movies. So it's kind of like a compilation type thing of people doing that. Okay. And then I got some CDs. None of which, so I've got the Star Wars series. I do love classical music. So I do like scores and soundtracks for movies. And so I do definitely have a great affinity towards Star Wars. So I have all of these. I would love to get these on vinyl record one day. But every time I look, they're expensive. And so for now, I've got the CDs, and those are actually the updated CDs that came out maybe, 10, 15, 20 years ago. They remastered, reissued, bonus tracks, etc. So I replaced the older ones I had. So that's it, though. Check out CGC Vinyl Guy, Christian over there, and subscribe to his channel. Get onto the contest. You've got till April 30th. I'll be out for now, and I'll be back with some regular stuff coming up soon. Rock on and rock hard.